If you're looking for a great way to trellis tomatoes and peppers in earth boxes, this is it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So these first two are indeterminate tomatoes, so I'm going to have to cage them higher. So you'll see that these cages are up above my head, and I'll show you why in just a second. But the regular cage is something that I've built these cages a good while ago for planting in the soil, and then I've used them also in wicking tubs, planting in wicking tubs. And I improvised, kind of shaped them a little differently to be used in these earth boxes. Instead of being a round cage, I just took the cable ties off of it that enclosed it into a circle and just laid it down on the ground and kind of smushed down the top of it to where I've got, if you're looking at it from ground level, it'll be up, it's just kind of a C like this. Instead of being round, I just spread it out to where you got a side here, it comes up and then it comes down, kind of a C, an upside down or a backwards or a C that's pointing downwards like that. And it works real well. Then I came in here on these, the smaller ones. These are determinate tomatoes here, so I don't need the cages to be quite as tall as I do on the indeterminate. So I did the indeterminates a little bit different, but let me show you the determinates first. I came in here with some 3/8 rebar and just cable tied them a couple of places. I found that is plenty. Push the rebar down in the ground about maybe a foot, and I just love working with 3/8 rebar. It's just so handy for tying tomatoes, for putting up electric fence for sheep, and I mean, it's just those things. 3/8 rebar is the bomb. Use 3/8 rebar, tied these cages to these. I did a video on how to make these cages called the world's best tomato cages, and they are made out of concrete reinforcement wire. These holes in it are 6 by 6, so good. You can reach in and get the biggest tomato you want. You don't have to worry about it. You've got plenty of space all the way around these tomato plants to reach in and get the tomatoes out or peppers out or whatever you have caged. I'll show you the peppers in just a second, but these are tomatoes, and these are all determinants. That's a celebrity. I believe that's a celebrity. These first two earth boxes are red snappers, and then I've got a celebrity. The red snapper seed came from Haas Tools. I've grown it, this is my 3rd year, I think, to grow red snappers, and I really, really like those determinate tomatoes. Right now the tomatoes are about 24 to 30 inches tall. Now these are my indeterminates. I had to do them a little bit different because the tomato, the plants are going to get so much bigger, so much taller. And again, those cages go up well above my head, 6.5 feet probably, something like that. But to get them that tall, I just started them kind of at the bottom. Instead of starting them on the ground like that one is, that tomato cage is actually on the ground there and then coming up, because I just don't need the height on these determinate tomatoes. On these indeterminates, I came up to about the top of the earth box, maybe a little bit above that, and I've got a T-post back here on the back, and I could have put T-post on the back and then T-post on each side of the front. I just didn't feel like I needed to. The T-post is tied in about 4 different places with just cable ties, tie wraps I call them. And then on the front, I reinforced it by putting some 3/8 rebar. And this one, the same thing. This is a cherry tomato, and these will get 6 feet tall easily. These will come out of the top of the cages. What I do to keep them inside the cage? Well, as you can see, I've got some this is baling string from a hay baler. I bought 2 rolls of it, and it's 40,000 feet. Will last me, and as long as I live, if I live to be another 100 years, I'll have it. But I just stretch it across, tie it in 3 different places, depends on how tall your plants are. But I tied it to the cage, and then just stretched it across and tied it over here to that side. And I did that in 3 different places, and I'll probably come up another 2 or 3 times As this thing gets up taller, it's going to want to fall forward, fall toward me, and I can't let that happen. I don't want it to, so I will have to just continue to tie these. And this has already got lots of cherry tomatoes on it. It won't be long. I'll be eating my first tomatoes of the season. This one is a pink brandywine. It's going to have some humongous tomatoes on it. I love the pink brandywine. Best tasting tomato I've tasted, and they're huge. They're really big. Now on these, since they're determinates, they'll get a little bit taller than that right there. I may have to put one more string on it. There's one more level of string, and maybe, I don't think so, but maybe. And if I do, I do. It's real easy. Just tie the hardest part is getting the string off in the off season, cutting the strings loose and wrapping them up and all that, tying them up and throwing them away. But just tie a string there, go all the way across, make sure your plants are inside the string, and then tie it, and just easy to do. Let me show you the peppers real quick. Those right there are already 2 feet tall, and I've tied those. There's only 4 peppers. Now, Earthbox says you can put 6 peppers to an Earthbox, but I only put 4 on these, and so anyway, for whatever reason, I just did it that way. And I went ahead and came in the middle because I kind of want to keep them separate. And just in the middle, I just tied some strings, wrapped it around that one, tied it to the front string just to kind of quarter off these Earthboxes with these strings inside the same cage. Now, it's the same cage I use on the tomatoes, just doing the strings a little bit differently, just simply because there's just, the tomatoes are just going to all run together, and these will too, to a certain extent. Just tied them a little bit different and segregated these 4. If I had 6 in there, I would do the same thing. The other 2 plants would be inside these 2 squares. I've used this technique last year, and I believe the year before, and works great. If I don't, the taller tomatoes, if I don't follow them up with some more strings, they will kind of fall over and fall out this way. So just gotta stay up with them. But that's kind of the fun of gardening, watching them grow and giving them some support. Now, if I wasn't doing cages, even with Earthboxes, I would come in here and do a Florida weave. I would put a T-post probably between each Earthbox and do a Florida weave. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've got a video on how to do the Florida weave, and that'll show you what I'm talking about. And that would work. A Florida weave would work well with tomato plants, but you couldn't get away with doing it with the 3/8 rebar. You'd need some T-post, I think. So that's what I've got, tying the tomatoes and tying the peppers with these cages. World's best tomato cages, a little bit of difference. Modified them just a little bit for those tomatoes and also for peppers. All right, we're gone.